Gameface. That music was so loud.
I think that was worse than what was coming from the studio.
Oh, I was singing beautifully.
Okay.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Kim Lannon. I'm here to make your daily game face of this week great. And wow, the music in my ears and your voice is very loud today.
Oh, turn it down.
I did. If I go much lower, then I won't have to hear you.
The studio is back in service.
Only took 10 years.
Hey.
Oh my God. Well, the person that used the studio before me clearly is hard of hearing because all of my monitors almost blew my eardrums out.
Yes, in capital letters with an exclamation point.
When you turned on the monitor, I almost fell off the chair.
Could have given him his own headphone set.
So anyway, good morning.
Good morning.
So we're going to start the show off with something that was totally random that you didn't know about.
I had no idea.
I can't believe. So for anyone that was in the New England area
How did I miss it? I'm on all these emergency channels and all this stuff too.
So the big story yesterday, and it was even bigger because it was like literally on my exit ramp to my house. Which I won't say where my house is, but it was on that ramp.
I mean,
obviously
everyone would know now.
Well, no, but they don't know where my house is, but it's the ramp that you have to take.
Right.
But it's between the big interchange of 495 and 93 here in Massachusetts. There was a 7 to 8 hour standoff with SWAT, police, helicopters with this man, which we're still not sure on the story. We're all doing our little detective sleuthing. Something happened in either Hudson or Berlin, New Hampshire. They chased him. There was a murder. He murdered somebody.
Okay.
Everything's alleged.
Yeah.
And then where they stopped him was at my turn off. So everyone that's around me and works, no one could get home yesterday afternoon. No, that was backed up for 6 hours on the highway.
Good Lord.
I don't know how you miss this.
I don't know how.
And they had, the spike strips out and everything. Well, anyway, so they ended up guns pointed. My two streets that go up and down from the exit ramp, there was a SWAT truck out in front of my car, out in front of my driveway. There were snipers on my street.
Yeah.
There were people, get this, I love this because there's always the Karens of the world, no disrespect, but all the funniness to the so the neighborhood next door app that loves to alert you of oh my God, there's blah blah blah, right? People were fighting with me when I had front view, and so did everyone around me have front view of what was going on because it was right there. People were like, that's not what's happening. It's and I mean, it's blasted all over the news.
Yeah.
They're showing people in SWAT gear with a gun at the guy for hours on end, and people are actually fighting with the rest of us on neighborhood next door going, no, that's not what's happening. I'm like, yes, it is.
Next door is like social media on steroids.
And I don't usually go on it, but it kept alerting because it was people kept saying, why are there helicopters? Because there were a lot of helicopters yesterday, and they were right over my house. And I was at work, so I actually didn't go home because I didn't want to get shot. And so I made people leave their houses and come meet me for dinner in a totally different town away from the whole thing. But it was a big deal. Yeah. And the man ended up shooting himself, and he was found dead in his truck on the highway.
Yep.
And I don't know exactly the whole story, but that was the thing that you missed yesterday.
I don't know how.
I don't know how you missed this. So
I wasn't working last night, so I was on social media. So,
but it was on every news station.
Well, I don't watch local news. So.
But it was tickering across Facebook and across
Instagram
yesterday.
Shocked.
And it was even on TikTok. It hit TikTok.
I don't do TikTok, but.
Oh, it was there. So you of all people, I thought for sure you would have been in the know because you're
stunned.
I'm stunned that and it's all your kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was.
What do you mean, my kind of thing?
Action and helicopters and SWAT and all the stuff going on and
it's a pain in the ass.
It's it was. People were very unhappy.
Yeah.
I had a friend that was very unhappy. She could not get back to Georgetown. She lives in Georgetown, and she could not get home. And she was supposed to get home around 5, and she didn't get home until I think 8:30.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Oh, we all know it was Trump's fault anyway. So.
Probably not this one. The pool, yes.
There's one that isn't?
The reflecting pool, yes.
Yeah, okay.
This one, no. I
Yeah.
would say,
Yeah.
yes. But that was not what I was going to talk about today. We were going to talk
He
about
did not rise.
who did not rise? Trump? No, he did not.
No.
No, he did not.
No, the guy at the center of the incident.
No, he did not rise.
He did not rise.
No,
This is what happens.
This is, yes, he did not face whatever adversity he was dealing with. I don't know who it is. I'm interested in finding out the story though, because it's always interesting to know like what drove him to whatever he did, and it's all speculative of like,
of course,
whether or not there was a double murder. He did them both. They happened at the same time. Was he just responsible for the one in Hudson, or I don't know. So news to follow. You should all just go on your own news, and I shouldn't report because that's not my show. It's your daily game face. I'm supposed to help people rise, reset.
Okay, let's not treat this as a controversial remark, but
when we set it up like that, it is.
Let's say it's on Kalishi. I think there's a 75% chance there's a woman involved.
Oh, I would say so too.
Yeah.
I would, or well, it's either a woman or it's a robbery gone bad, like a drug thing, because of where because of where it was.
Yeah,
and that's that.
Oh,
you know, that kind of area.
Was
it's up in that area.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I think so.
And like they've had stuff there before.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking it could be both, or it could be. I was leaning heavier towards like drug.
Could be. Yeah.
Thing gone wrong.
That's a fair guess.
Yes, but there could be a woman involved.
65-35.
We'll see.
60-40.
Here we go. Okay. Anyway, that's not what my show was about today. Oh God. However, I mean, in sort of a weird twist of fate about what my show was going to be about is, well, first of all, I have to talk about the fact that because people are following now, well, you're not on TikTok, so you don't see it, but if you follow me on Instagram or you follow me on Facebook on my social, which you probably have seen, I have my journey now because I'm in a journey of losing another lovely baby to
no, I didn't see
squamous cell carcinoma in her jaw.
Good Lord.
22 years old. Yeah, you would never know it. Well, this morning I knew it was bothering her, but she started a little treatment. We're not doing surgery at this point because she's 22.
Yeah.
I'm opting for not doing surgery because I don't think she'd make it through the anesthesia. So, but yeah, squamous cell carcinoma of the mandible, and it's right up in the front. I noticed it 3.5 weeks ago, roughly on Thursday. I thought it was a tooth issue, but in my head I thought it's cancer just because that's what happens. And they treated it for a tooth infection, and I kept saying it's not going away.
Yeah.
But the infection definitely got better because the tooth was. But then her real vet came back and saw her right away and said she didn't even have 2 seconds and looked at me and said, "You're right."
Yeah.
And I was like, I knew it. So it's a very aggressive cancer.
Mm-hmm.
But Echo's a tough little bird. So currently she's sitting home in the sun, enjoying herself.
Nice.
And she's got a little buprenorphine. She's got a little opiate on board today because her chin was bothering her. So, but she's
been relentless for you for about a year.
5 weeks ago, I lost one, and so can we just make it through Christmas? That's I would like, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But it's very sad. I'm holding it together here. I get the face burn 9,000 times a day.
Yeah,
because I'm just like, seriously, I'm tired. Not because I don't mind ever taking care of them, but it's just the loss, and it gives you a lot of food for fodder, and it also gives you a lot of interesting feedback on where people's empathy lies and the lack thereof in people in general, and people's self-centeredness as I look away from the camera going, not because of you, but because there's so many people that I have so much. I have so much work to do in my practice with. Not with my people, because my people in my practice have empathy, but I'm talking about the world.
Yeah, I kind of follow the 80-20 rule. And I think social media is the 20%. Do you think that's reflective of society as a whole, or just what we get?
Yes.
Both.
I think I've had this discussion in the past week or so with so many people about the lacking of empathy with my clients. Actually, we've been talking about like how many people really lack empathy, not because of echo, but it did come
Yeah.
up because of that a little bit, but just the pure in self introspection that isn't really introspection, lack of self-awareness.
Yeah.
And then I came up with, I think it was on, let's say Wednesday. I think on Monday at one point when I was talking to a client, I had this moment of like, the world is just bleeding out. The metaphor of like, everyone's just bleeding out and they're not, and I'm not being funny about that. They're
No, I know.
literally, there's a bleed out going on.
Yeah.
And it's not new, but it just seems like people just bleed out and don't have any knowledge or awareness that they're bleeding out. And if they do, they don't care. Or if they do and care, they're still bleeding out and don't do anything about it. And so I've had these conversations a lot. And so when I talk about so I this is going to be part of my book. So because I've thought a lot about it, the fact that, there's a philosophical nature of this bleed out phenomenon in psychology and philosophy. And I don't know if you realize that, because there's a neuroscience piece to this about like bleeding out, so to speak. So let me flesh out what bleeding out is that people usually don't behave according to what they know. They usually behave according to what their nervous system's telling them, as you know, right? We've talked about that. So they react, they're bleeding out. Everything's just emotional, reactive, flipping someone off on the road, screaming at someone,
constant threat generation.
So the philosophy and the integration of the psychology and the neuroscience of it is that lived experience is this kind of phenomenon right now. And I don't think it's new. I just think it's really intensified for the two things that you just said, right? So I think that unfortunately, when we're talking about the metaphor I'm using of like psychologically bleeding out, it points to that important distinction between when someone's in acute distress, which people seem to be in acute distress a lot of the time and don't seem to realize it because they just walk around. I call it putting up their periscope. The periscope's up all the time.
Yep.
There may not be any danger, but the periscope is up. We're on alert, right? We're looking. And so they're trying to persuade themselves all the time to adopt a way of being able to manage that. And instead, to my reset point is being able to have a new mindset. And I had a client that keeps saying, okay, I can't flip my mindset. I can't do it. Well, one, the word can't comes up, right? But it's not about flipping. And I caught that word in the fact that when someone's acutely bleeding out emotionally or physically or all of the above, it's not really about flipping. It's more about generating your system to be more reorganized in a way that manages things better, so it's less overwhelmed. It doesn't reinforce like bad behavioral patterns or bad thinking patterns. So it's not really about flipping something. It's about reorganizing the way you're being in the world, and the way that you really want to see yourself.
It's about tuning your focus, isn't it?
That's part of it. Tune into executive functioning, organization, concentration. Where do you put your priorities? People largely, and I hate to generalize it, but it really is striking how many people just walk around sort of like aimlessly without a clue.
Yeah.
And so trying to persuade someone to adopt a new mindset is often really less effective because people get into that whole, I can't flip this around. But if you can provide, so I went with a medical model in my mind of how to perceive this, because it's like, what would make sense to people? And it's like, you have to stabilize first, right? If you're truly bleeding out, let's like take the visual of like you're bleeding, you cut yourself and you're bleeding. We don't go and look at the pricker bush that you are bleeding out from. We actually put the Band-Aid on. We have to stabilize the problem first. We have to stop the bleed, right? And then after that, after we regain enough stability, then we can have a new perspective. Like, hey, maybe don't prune that bush without gloves on, or whatever it is, right? So being able to take a new perspective to take hold. So just as someone is as serious about like that physical injury, the bleed has to be controlled and stabilized before rehabilitation can come, which is very similar to like a lot of the work. And I think this stems a lot of the work from doing, addiction work that I do, is people will say, okay, I stopped drinking, I have no more problem. No. The drinking or the drugging or the gambling or the sex or the overeating or shopping
that's a symptom.
That's the symptom of the problem. Once we get you stabilized from the thing, then that's when the actual work happens. And so that's what overwhelms people. And that's where the bleed out sort of stems from, is that people get so distressed in their mind because they feel like if they can get stabilized, then they don't need to transform it. And then that's why they relapse. And that's why people get back into their negative mindset, is because they get reactive again, and the reaction is any of those things, or you behave badly, or you're not like a nice person, or you have anger issues, whatever it is. Right. So I always try to do step by step, because people like to have ways of doing things. So first step, stop the bleed. We have to stabilize. The goal isn't optimism and like cheerleading, right? Yeah. It's about reducing chaos. So if we're talking about like the actual like psychological bleed out, is we have to reduce your chaos. And that's important. You have to take an inventory around you of like, what is in your life that's chaotic, and what is causing the most distress right now. There you go. There we go. All right. So you have to ask yourself these questions. And this is what I've been asking people. So what's causing the most distress right now? What thoughts are actually factual, and which are predictions, because people make presumptions, assumptions all the time and treat those as facts. And then they bleed out over those, instead of it being like, if they looked at a fact and then, oh, that actually isn't true, then the bleed out can stop. Right. So that question can like stop a lot right there. Asking people, what basic needs are they neglecting? Is it water, sleep, connection with others, movement, food, like those, the basic needs. And then what immediate stressor in today or tomorrow can be reduced. And right. So that's a stabilization phase one. Like, just if you can just get any of those questions answered and then work that can just get you set up for success.
The last one is such a key, I think, because people invite stresses into their life.
Because
there's certain things that are inherent, of course,
because Periscope is up, and they're alerting, and they're looking for them, even when they're not there. They're looking for them.
Your Periscope is social media. That's what your Periscope is.
Yours is.
Well,
I think for a lot of people it is, but I think there's other. I mean, there's a lot of different
of course,
stressors, but psychologically, people get impacted by lots of things. So, but I think social media, but my social media is good stuff. So, except for the fact that mine's currently sad because I'm doing an upbeat version of my sadness. So there we go, because I'm trying to do a journey of how to like handle grief by using my rise. And it's hard.
Yeah.
Because you're balancing the sadness. So I don't bleed out. I'm trying not to bleed out.
Right.
How's
well,
that?
Yeah.
But
you're dealing with a legitimate stressor.
Well, yes. And
many people are dealing with stresses that aren't legitimate.
Well, they believe they're legitimate.
Less legitimate.
So they're valid. Anyone's stressors are valid, right?
Right.
But that doesn't mean that they're actually real or true, or they have like the predictability of the future of like something bad happening. Mine has a bad ending.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm trying to make it less bad, essentially. Right. Yep. So what I'm trying to do through like using my, in psychology, we'd call it sublimation, taking something bad and doing something good about it. Right. So it's, I'm making videos to highlight the journey of her life as she's still alive, and appreciating her and loving her and being, that. But it's about, for her, she has no idea what's going on. So I'm going to use Echo as the example. She has no idea she's dying. Mm-hmm. She still comes to me for food. She still comes to me for love. She still cuddles. She still purrs. She still lays in the sun. She hasn't changed her patterns. She's still jumping up on the counter. She gets her rotisserie chickens 4 times a week. She's doing all her things. She has no idea. But me as the person, because human beings have this psychological bleed out, right? Yep. Our nervous systems are in constant threat mode, like you would say. So psychologically, we're really trying to bring that nervous system back into a a good space, a
Right.
nice generalized, flexible space where we don't feel like we're constantly under attack. Because using my example, if I allowed it to just be about death, dying, loss, I'd probably be a hot mess.
Right.
As most people would be, because my psychological and my physiological go hand in hand, because mind and body talk together. That doesn't mean that you don't have a dysregulation in the system, right? But it means, how do you bring it under control?
But you're not wasting time and energy by fighting the reality of it either.
Right. No. And
many people just fight reality constantly.
Right. And my strategy of how to not fight the reality of it is that I'm educating myself like a ton. When Sophie, before she passed away many years ago, had osteosarcoma, and it was a rare thing on her, I did tons of research so that it helped soothe my actual nervous system, because now I knew about it. I knew what research was. I knew who had been treated, how successful, what, like, that makes my whole body feel better.
Yeah.
Because that's who I am. Like, more knowledge makes me feel better.
Unknown to known.
Right. And so instead of guessing or relying only on the veterinarian to tell me, I have multiply triangulated and made phone calls out to anybody and everybody I work with in the vet field, everybody, the wildcats places, and
not critical thinking.
Oh God, critical thinking.
Don't do that.
God forbid. God forbid I use my brain. I know. Yeah. It's a terrible thing.
Can't be triangulating the truth here.
Oh God, no, can't do that. So yeah, but I think that helps reset, the body.
Yep.
And I highly recommend it. It doesn't mean you have to go read books, but it just means, do something. Do something to help yourself clarify what your stress can be less stressful.
Yeah.
And
because oftentimes, I mean, not in your instance, but oftentimes what you'll find is, if you look into it, is you'll soften the threat, because you understand it's less realistic than you might have thought before you started looking into it.
Well, right. And that's the second phase, if we want to call these like these steps, is like understanding that the existing mindset can be moved around, that every mindset exists because it saw, whatever the mindset is, if it's threat, it existed because at some point it solved a problem at one point.
Yeah.
But then it didn't. So that's why you have
then it created problems.
Then it created problems, which is why critical thinking is important, which is why education, which is why seeking out soothing peace bubble stuff, making sure the more you know. I mean, it's such a cliche, wonderful little tagline on TV. The more you know is so true, because it helps settle the body. Now, I do have clients, I should say, that the more they know, the worse they get. So that is also can completely backfire. And that's when I say, do not use Dr. Google. The more you know is in those cases is like, okay, come in, ask me, go to your primary care, ask them, like triangulate from people who are going to tell you things that are not just, if you go to Dr. Google, it's like, I stubbed my toe, and by the time you're done reading it, you're at death's door. Right.
Well, anything on social media, it's like anytime someone presents an argument to me from social media, go look up flat Earth.
I can't.
I
know.
You'll end up being convinced the Earth is flat, and it's not.
Exactly.
You can find whatever you want.
Exactly.
In search engines.
Exactly, because the algorithm to you. So exactly. But people will fight you on the fact that, and I have listeners on the show that believe in flat Earth. I respect that for them, but no. It's impossible physiologically, kinetically, I should say, in physics, not physiologically, but physics. Yeah. But anyway, that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
Okay. So in phase 2, understanding the existing mindset. So for example, I had written down this as an example. I can't trust anyone. That may have developed after being repeatedly betrayed by someone, right? Or some people, or people often will use that core belief of I'm a failure, because that may have become a way of explaining painful experiences, because people kept disappointing someone, or they were falling short on an expectation, or nothing matters. That protects someone from disappointment when they can kind of brush it off and dismiss it, right? Rather than asking, how do I get rid of this belief? You really have to look at these things for mindset and say, what kinds of those statements, the negative statements, what purpose do those beliefs have in serving me? Like what? Well, they're protecting you, but they're not.
They're absolving you of responsibility. That's what
Well, they're absolving you of responsibility. They take control away from you, that you feel that you have nothing, that you have no ability to account for, responsible for. You have no ability to change. That's the big one, is that you feel like you have no ability to change something. And that is just not true.
and no responsibility to change.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So once its function is understood, of like what those statements like I'm a failure, or very common kind of narcissistic statement that people make, especially I see this a lot in, unfortunately, in people with addiction, is like, that's right, I'm just a piece of shit, I can't do anything right. That's a full-blown, just total toxic narrative that has come in a mindset that serves a purpose of avoiding conflict, confrontation, uncomfortable feelings, and having to take responsibility for anything, and just being like, that's right, I don't do anything, I'm a piece of shit.
Yep.
It's one of the most commonly used phrases in people who are in addiction, or people who are in air quote sobriety recovery, but when they feel pressed against the wall to like have to be responsible for hurting feelings or doing something that did something, they go right to that. And that's that mindset. And what purpose does it serve? To dismiss and avoid you and protect them, to run away. And it functions for them, but doesn't function for the people around them, because it just ruins the relationship, so to speak. Right. So that second thing is really understanding that existing mindset for you and what purpose is it serving, if you can identify that. And then we can go on to replacing the identity, not just the thoughts. So mindsets are usually like connected to your identity. So that failure one is, if you are a failure, if you think you're a failure, then there's got to be something there that's making you think that about you as who you are as a person. So instead of changing, let's say I have to think, people will say in my office, I have to think positively. First of all, I don't like using the word positive because it has no action to it. I like the word productive. So I change it towards, I want to become, or I want to be productive and someone who responds differently. More words, more work. But like, even if you listen to me and I say to you, Lou, I have to think positively, and you hear that, it feels a certain way. Instead, if I say, I want to become someone who responds differently.
Yeah.
That feels different. It feels viscerally much different in the body of even how to be in the world. So that whole bleed out right there about I'm a negative person, I'm a failure, that's underlining that, goes away when you say, I want to become someone who is more responsive, less reactive. That just like changes your whole body when you do it. Like your serotonin changes, your dopamine changes, you have a reward system that happens. Like I can feel it when I say it. And so even if you're listening and practice that, you can practice that and hearing what a difference it is to say, I just need to be more productive and more mindful of staying aware of not saying blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Right. And what a difference. So that
specific too, which makes it more doable.
And when that happens, it changes how you see yourself, the identity that you place on yourself. It takes you away from, I'm no good, I'm a failure, I'm a piece of shit, I don't do anything right. That whole thing that people do, right? It's identity tends to produce consistent behaviors more effectively than when you force like positive thoughts. So people are like, think positively. Well, no, if you force positive thoughts, there's nothing behind them to hold them.
Right.
So the identity of you they're disconnected. They don't have an alignment together. And so hopefully people are understanding what I'm meaning by the fact that when you just have positive thoughts and you think that that's replacing a negative thought, that's all well and good, but take the word positive out and find something that's actionable, productive thought. You're wanting to take something that is going to give your identity meaningful movement. So it's, I'm going to be a person who is a listener. Remember a couple of shows ago, I said, it's better to hear, and it's better to listen to hear than listen to speak. That is a very specific mindset shift that it fits in this, how you replace your identity. Now you're an active listener versus a passive listener. I listen to hear you. I don't listen just to speak, to just get, you're speaking and I'm just going to say what I got to say. I actually am present. So therefore my mindset, my identity says a lot then to me, that I'm empathetic, I'm present, I'm accountable, I'm going to be offering good solutions possibly because of it, or I'm just being present for someone. And the identity of that person means you don't betray, you are there, you're a good attached person, you have connection, all the things that help people not bleed out.
Just basic listening. I've had the thought so many times, I'll look at people and go, what did you think they said? Because your reaction doesn't match what they said.
There's so many times it's because I have a petri
What
dish.
Did you hear?
Exactly. In my class, I always, at the beginning of the semester, I do it a couple of times during the semester, but every single class for 20 plus years, I say, I'm going to tell you all of this, blah, blah, blah right now. And I have a couple different things I say. I guarantee that all 25 of you hear it, but there's going to be at least one, possibly two, maybe even three, that will still ask me the exact thing that I just said. And it's without fail, kind of humorous, that within 30 seconds, sometimes to a minute, someone will raise their hand and be like, Dr. Lannon, about blah, blah, blah. And the entire class will burst out laughing because they're like, oh my God, she just said it. But it doesn't fail because people don't listen to hear, they listen to speak, because their identity is about themselves. They're not listening truly for being present. They're in some other la la land. So yes. So anyway, so the next piece of this is to build evidence. The brain changes more from experience than from arguing with yourself, right? So lived experience, super important. That's why people, when they come in, I say, you have to practice this, and I get an eye roll. I'm like, you practice this negative stuff, so you got to practice the productive stuff, right? So your brain is in the space it's in because it's experienced you arguing with yourself all the time of what ifs, shoulda, woulda, couldas, bad things, negative things, catastrophizing, future forecasting, all the things. So the brain will change far more from an experience that's productive and forward moving than if you just, here we go again, sit in your shit. So my famous line, that's the name of my book. It should be, don't sit in your shit.
Right. I like it.
I know, right? That's the name. It's coming together. I've got 2 chapters written and now maybe a title. But what we want to do in this to have a mindset shift is build evidence. So instead of saying, I'm confident, right? Because you have to feel it, right? So when I work with athletes, I try to have them pick a mantra word that they believe. I always say, it can't be a word. They always be like, pick one for me. I'm like, nope, it has to come from you, and you have to believe it. You have to feel it. And it has to like it's an actual physical feel. Just like when I talked to you, those 2 different phrases and how it made you feel different, right? So instead of saying, I'm confident, you want to create an experience yourself that generates the confidence. And so instead of saying, I'm confident, it's like, do something that would create the confidence. Like, okay, I've never run a mile. Okay, I want to run a mile, so I'm going to just go walk the mile first. That will give me confidence that I'll be able to do the next thing. I have someone that I'm working on. They're getting ready to take the LSAT for the law school, and it's about timing and it's about accuracy. So those are the 2 factors in it. So it's just like performance in athleticism, right? Being able to not be anxious because of the timing, and then the timing then gets you through, messes up your accuracy. So again, going back to, we don't look at outcome goal because we don't have to. The outcome goal, if we do the journey right and we do it on the best path we can, right? Because nonlinear, but if we follow the journey and we just focus on the control we have in productive confidence building, the outcome goal of hitting the time mark will come with the accuracy. So in just 2 weeks time, this person I'm helping has gone from just complete flat, no confidence, so distressed, to I talked to them yesterday and they were like beaming just off of the first two techniques because they had gone into 94+% accuracy on the testing because I took the timing off the table.
Yep.
We don't need to worry about the time right now. So now we've added in a new technique that's going to happen to bring in time, but in a different way, that it's not about watching the clock, so that we're still getting the accuracy to prove it's about proving confidence to this person, to have them feel like, oh my God, I don't have to
turning unknown into known.
I don't have to identify myself as being out of control. I'm actually focused on the present, where I'm locked in on being accurate, and it will come out right in the time. So it's the brain change. It's just building evidence for yourself by doing that, and creating an experience for yourself that generates the confidence.
Same set of realities, but different approach.
Right.
Different mindset.
Right. And what you do is you look for repeated evidence that things will work. You look for, because it's there. If you do not create experiences for it to be there, it won't show up. You have to be able to create those experiences. Like if you say, people don't care about me. If you feel that way, you're more likely to avoid connection. You're not going to be around people, etc. If you say people care about me, you're going to look for repeated, consistent evidence that people do care about you and that are present and that they constantly show up. And that's important because the evidence will rewrite those beliefs that you have in your head, that narrative, that storyline, and it will give you the affirmation to slow the bleed internally. It settles the nervous system.
Yep.
It's such a great technique. And then once you're doing that, these are all things too. They don't they're stepwise, or they're phases, but they happen simultaneously, essentially. So, but it works better for people that aren't used to doing it by step. So then the next thing would be what we'll call phase 5 or stage 5, is creating the new narrative, right? So now we've got the evidence to rewrite the narrative. So we naturally, as human beings, organize our experiences into stories. We just do. Everything's a story, right? Women tell stories very differently than men. Men tell stories very differently than women. No one way is right or wrong. Just we are storytellers in different ways, right? So, but when people are struggling, they tend to tell themselves bad stories, maladaptive stories. Everything bad happens to me. I'm a broken person. I am damaged. Nothing ever works. Nothing ever changes. I always think of Polar Express with the little boy that comes out and he says, Christmas just never works out for me. And it's always a heartbreaking moment for me because I love Christmas, but in that movie, because in that character, because I get so drawn into the character, I always want to just be like, no, change that mindset. And he does. And he inevitably he does in the movie, right? And that's the whole, Tom Hanks does a beautiful job of writing that movie, and with George, whatever his name was that wrote it, to emphasize the ability to change these negative identities of these children into belief of self and belief in the world around them.
Well, not to drag this down into the secret, but thoughts become things.
Exactly. Yes.
Everything becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Mm-hmm. Christmas never works out for me, so it never does.
It does. Exactly. Yeah. Right. And it's so true, because that's people self-sabotage with the narrative, the creating the storyline. And I talk about this with clients every single day. I'm going to talk about it probably 10 times today because I'll see 10 people, right? And I will probably talk about their storyline, every single one of them. What's the storyline today? What narrative are we telling ourselves about the thing that we're talking about, right? Because whether it's direct talking, like with those words, we're talking about those narratives, and me then either showing them a healthier narrative by actually generating it for them and reframing it for them, giving them something else. And I do sometimes have a client or two that'll be like, I'm not a Pollyanna, like, because they have this thing in their head of like, oh, it's just positive. No, it's actually not. It's productive, because I put that experience base behind it. It's like, we're going to do something activating so that then we're shaping the experience that will change the storyline. And in order to do that, you have to go do that. And people that's where they get stuck. It's like, That's the Eeyore. I have to go out, but then I have to come back. Why bother, right? But it's true though, right? So the story becomes the story then becomes able to have more room for growth when you do this part of the phase, when you actually take and create a new narrative and a new storyline based on the confidence from experience. And it's those little stacked wins that build a different storyline. And if you've been listening since the beginning of the year to the whole rise, it's the stack of the wins, the little teeny things that are the experience that leaves that room for growth to happen so that you can rise, so that you can evolve at the end, the E that's part of the rise, right? So very important to follow that. That is a, like, literally, I just handed people a stepwise way of doing this and relieving yourself of bleeding out. If you do it, unfortunately, some people like to bleed out.
Yeah.
They thrive in it because,
well, again, it drops responsibility.
Well, and they get a secondary, in psychology, we call it secondary gain. They get attention for what, so yes.
Negative attention is always fine if there's no positive attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So an ideological explanation that I was talking about in the beginning about like the neuroscience about it is taking those phases and stages and really putting them in line and really working on them at all times. It doesn't mean that you have to do it in exact order, but essentially if you're doing them together, they will work out for you and change things even a little bit at a time. And it's kind of like what you were just saying is like, if you're a person that experiences, if you're a person that expects you're going to get rejected, like I have a client that always won't go out socially, would love to be social, wants to like date, wants to do all these things, but they won't go out because they expect rejection. And because of that, they notice rejection more. Right.
Yeah.
If someone expects failure,
they kind of seek it out.
They notice failure. Yeah. They find it. It's like they pull for it. I call it pulling for it. Right. If someone expects danger, they notice danger more because their brain is already in the storyline of looking for the predictability patterns that they've trained their brain to go towards based on past false experience, past experience that may have happened, but then has been evolved into something bigger. It's the concept of predictive processing. We process things that we predict and we are often wrong. Like worry. Worry is like praying for something bad to happen. People will worry to death, meta worry about worry about worry. And then at the end, they'll be like, oh, nothing bad happened. It's like, right. That's not to say that sometimes
right.
But predictably it's not going to be that way, but what purpose does that worry serve?
Reasonable and rational worry is worthwhile. It's productive.
Right. And in that other one that's not reasonable, rational, realistic, the 3 R's that I use, right? That serves zero purpose when you're doing the other thing. All it does is it protects you from disappointment. It protects you from feeling like a failure. It protects you from being criticized. It doesn't really, but it serves a defense mechanism for you that is a falsehood, So changing your mindset around this essentially is about updating your mind, your narratives, so that your predictions through repeated confidence building and experiences will contradict what you already think or believe and replace them. And it then changes that piece of identity. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yes. So I did an acronym for people.
Oh, excellent.
I did an acronym. People keep texting me. It's like, if you're going to text me, just comment in the comments.
Yeah, thank you.
Just
good.
Comment in the comments, people. Stop texting.
That would be productive.
It's like people get scared to put them up in the comments, so they backdoor text me. Okay, I'm like, yeah, okay. So I gave you the long version, right? But a practical strategy that you can summarize this as the acronym is going to be reset, right? So here we are in RISE, but it's going to be reset. So we have our R, we have our E, our S, our E, and our T, right? So first we're going to recognize. So the first R is recognize. So notice that you have these automatic thoughts and emotional patterns. And when you notice and recognize that, we don't want to immediately accept them as facts. We just recognize that they're there. So recognize. Then we examine, God forbid, right? We have to examine, ask, is this a belief and where it came from? What evidence supports it? Is it factual? And then maybe challenge it. But you're doing the recognizing, I have this thought, I have this way of being.
Awareness.
And but that's not the R. Don't mess up my acronym. And then we examine R-E.
Yeah.
Don't put an A in there. There's no A.
Gotcha.
Jeez, Lou. God. Okay, so recognize, then examine, and then stabilize. There's the big piece. It's like right in the center, right? So it's the balance point. It's stabilizing, addressing sleep, your stress, relationships, routines, emotional struggles, and regulating that before expecting any kind of major cognitive shift or any kind of major evolving moment. You have to stabilize. So once you've actually recognized and you examine, then you can probably get into stabilization mode. So then the rest of the acronym can work, which is then we do experiments. Right? You have to be willing to, this is where the work comes. This is where people after the middle point usually go, oh, right? Because this is where the work comes. So you have to do the experiments. Try the small action to change something, that test an old assumption. Like if I go out and people don't look at me and smile, doesn't mean that they don't like me.
Right.
I can just go out and be, right? Test out like small little actions. Collect evidence rather than seeking certainty. Collect the evidence that's, oh, I went out and I didn't have any bad experiences, and a couple people smiled at me and it wasn't terrible and I didn't fall apart. And it's like the question I always ask people, did you fall apart? Did the world explode? Did you burst into flames? Did anyone die? You know, and usually people laugh at all of it. And I'm like, that's
one of my favorite phrases. How'd it go today? Nobody died.
Right. And you didn't burst into flames. That's I always say, did you burst into flames? And they're like, no. I'm like, see, I told you wouldn't. Right. So that's the experimenting part. And then the last part is transform, which is the evolve, right? But it's the transformation piece, is repeating the new pattern of thought, behavior, feelings that it creates from the thoughts, then becomes part of your new identity, which makes you rise, right? So that transformation is usually cumulative, and it accumulates because it's a result of all the little adjustments that you're making along the way, of all the stage changes. And it's not one big aha moment that people want and look for and think, I have to have that in order for it to like mean something. It's really about making you have a realistic expectation that if you use the reset, recognize, examine, stabilize, experiment, and transform, you will get the rise. You will have a realistic expectation of yourself. Your body will then have that as well. The bleed out will not be a bleed out anymore. You won't be in that like acute I need to bandage stage, right? Everything. Because then, as we know, mindset is not linear. Nothing is linear in these things, right? So because it's not linear, people often improve with this. They will relapse under stress. People go back to their default. So expect that. That's normal. They'll recover. If you practice this, people will recover from things emotionally and physically more quickly than before if they practice this. And gradually their resilience and their confidence builds. Sometimes it builds quickly, especially when people really want it and really work it. They will build quicker than not. It's kind of like weight loss. If you really work it, it will come off. If you partially work it, it comes off, but it's slower, right? So it's just about having your expectation set. So, but given that progress, if we look at it by progress, it's often better measured by questions that you can ask yourself, like, how quickly am I now recovering from a setback or from something that comes up and makes me upset? Am I reacting with more flexibility than I was 2 weeks ago or 6 months ago? Am I being more responsive? Am I listening better? Like asking those kinds of questions. Am I making choices that align more closely with who I want to be rather than who I was being? Such a good question. Such a good question. So those changes indicate a mindset that is becoming more adaptive, more flexible, and much more about evolution. The whole goal of rising this year is that we want to evolve. We want to be the best version of ourselves. Like last year was the year of you, but it's still the year of you. It's always the year of you, but you want to be the best version of yourself. And how do you get there? So if you're thinking about this in the context of helping yourself, you really want to make sure that you are practicing these phases and use the reset.
It's not flipping a switch. It's a process.
It is a process for sure. And people have to get into that mindset that process isn't this horrible, awful word. Process is what you do every day anyway. It's just about doing it different. And
doing it one helpful to you or destructive to you.
Right.
Which are you going to do?
Which hard are you going to pick?
Yeah.
Right. Everything, you have two choices. They're both hard. One's unnecessary and one is regular. Pick the regular one. Right. You create the unnecessary one is the one that makes you bleed out.
Right.
That's the one. It's the one, and people don't realize it because they're so used to it because it's their default.
At the risk of derailing you.
Here we go.
No, you talked earlier about encouraging athletes to have mantras.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a mantra?
For different things. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. And it changes dependent on the thing. So like if it's golf, if like I'm in a golf tournament, my mantra is, I was going to be funny and be like, don't throw.
Don't throw the club.
I actually threw I was in a golf tournament 2 weeks ago and I was on a hole-in-one, like, prize thing. And it was awful. It was awful. And I never throw the club because I'm so contained. I whipped my club backwards so hard after I hit. I was so mad. I was like, and everyone was laughing because I had an audience, of course.
Well, it's not linear.
And it was, I have no problem sharing my foibles, but I literally never throw my club. I don't know what came over me. I hit in the ball. It wasn't a terrible shot, but I was so mad and that club went flying. And I was like, sorry about that. But people were like, alrighty then. The person who was in my cart, Kristen, she was like, wow, that was a lot. Because she'd never seen me in all the years of playing golf. She'd never seen me like huck a club. And I was like, and I think I actually probably dropped an F-bomb. I don't remember, but I know there was a lot of dysregulation.
But what you know about people is for you, that's not going to be a 3-hole problem.
No.
By the time you get in the cart,
it was over.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was over.
Yeah.
Well, it was over once I made sure I didn't break my club. I wanted to make sure my club was still intact because it was one of my really nice 3-woods. And I'm like, I hope I didn't break my club. I didn't, but I did whip it.
I have 2 and you're going to laugh.
Yeah.
We're on Cincinnati is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's such a great life lesson. It's like, I can't fix what I didn't like that, but I can't fix it. But what can I do to avoid it going forward?
Exactly.
What can I learn? And how can I apply that application?
And if I use that as well for people, for just a generalized.
That was just life-changing. That whole thing, it's funny, but
yes. Yeah. No, but it is. I mean, I use it as a general one to people. I say we're on to it, but you can give me your other one and then I'll give you my daily kind of one.
The other one is I haven't figured that out yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So mantras,
being okay with not having all the answers now.
Yes. Okay. So when I do mantras, I try to, with athletes and performing artists, I try to have them have one word. So it's easier for them. But I do have, a mantra that I swear by because I think it makes us stronger as people. Being humble is by saying, when I don't know something, I have no problem saying I don't know.
Yeah.
So I stick to that mantra. When I don't know, I don't try to make something up, where I've seen so many people, especially in education, make up stuff and because they want to make sure they don't lose face. And I just think that's a terrible thing. So I have a sort of a truism and a mantra to myself to be true to myself. And it's not that, it's just to say, I don't know when I don't know. And I'm going to find out, or you can find out for me and let me know, because I love that mantra. It's like, I don't know. And my other one is, it depends. People ask me questions and I'll say, it depends. Because it does. People ask certain things. And I'm like, well, that depends. And you just said, what's your mantra? It depends. Yeah. So if it's golf, don't. But my morning mantra typically is, I will have a good day. And that's, the mindset goes right into, I will have a good day, no matter what. Echo has cancer. I'm not thinking about those things in the front of my frontal lobe. They're in the back, but my day could get ruined completely, and I could dysregulate if all I'm thinking about is, I just lost Mia, I just lost Mush, I just lost Sophie, I just lost Kalila 7 years ago. I'm about to lose another cat. I have a cat that I saved last year that we have to get, all medicated for his first annual exam. Like, and I have all the patients that I have that are all needing assistance. I've got a couple emergency, nope, I'm just going to have a good day.
Yep.
I'm just going to have a good day because that's, I'm
going to do choices.
But I'm going to do all those things.
But the two choices are letting you color the rest of your day, or deciding the rest of your day is going to be.
My day is going to be good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to enjoy the heat because I get to be out in it for a hot second because it's going to be 100 degrees today. But all those things are going to, no matter what, all those things are going to still exist. And the only thing I can do is just take them as they come and then move forward.
Yep.
And then I move forward, which is another mantra. I'm always moving. That when I run the marathon, it's always just keep moving forward. I have a shirt that says it. That's the whole mantra of that whole training season. When I'm doing for Boston is always keep moving forward, keep moving forward. And I'll be out on the course and I'll be like, everybody says it. It's like people have it written on their arms because we've all gotten this adaptation to just keep moving forward. It doesn't matter because you just have to get to the finish line.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how you get there. Just keep moving forward. Crawl, roll, stumble, whatever. Just get there.
Yep.
And it works because that's where you keep your mindset, because every step is an accumulated win, right? It's one step closer to the finish.
And that's how you do it. You do it one step at a time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, reset, the acronym. If you don't remember it, you'll have to go back and listen. And that will be your RISE lesson. I had a very cute thing that someone sent me this morning, and I thought this was cute because July, the acronym, it was an acronym morning, but I got a little thing from someone today. It says July, just love yourself. July. Just love yourself.
Nice.
I thought that was so cute. And that was their little inspiration to me. I get inspiration sent to me on a daily, and I was like, I like that. Just
be your own teammate.
Just love yourself. But that's not spelling out July, Lou. Again.
Fighting the acronyms.
Again, Lou, you bring in the A, you have now a B. No, it's July, July. Just love yourself.
Yep.
July.
Just restating the premise.
Can you just stick with you? Jesus. Lou, it's okay.
Restating the premise. That's all.
I know. But you taking the people's acronyms out of their heads.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I'm gonna make up one for sorry too, SORRY, but it won't be on air. Yes, for you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So sorry. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I want people to go out there and live your best life this week and really work on reset and stop bleeding out, because you don't have to bleed out. Stabilize yourself, regulate yourself, and use my phases, and they'll be in my book. That's a chapter in my book. And you
pre-order on Amazon.
And you just got my chapter that I haven't written yet in my book for free. But I appreciate everybody going out there and rising this week. So go out and have a great 4th of July.